Welcome to the podcast. Thought today we'd talk about something just a little off track. As many of you know, I'm a retired correctional officer, former police officer, was in the military police, was a civilian cop, and I don't know, there's probably a couple other things in there. So I've been in all phases of law enforcement. Haven't been a meter maid, and probably never will, but I had considered it. I helped my grandfather catch dogs when he was a dog catcher, so I was literally an assistant dog catcher. So, done all kinds of stuff in law enforcement. Anyway, recently this week, I had to go and get qualified again on my firearm that I carry. And I've decided that here in Illinois, I wouldn't use the state-sponsored group anymore, which charges me $100 for a year, makes me use both an automatic and a revolver, and then they do a background check on me and a whole bunch of other stuff, and it takes a long time. It takes me like over an hour to get this done, an hour and a half. Then, of course, I have to wait for the actual document to get to me, which takes another 10 days or thereabouts, et cetera, et cetera. Or I could go to, and here's a free plug for my friends down the road there in Marion, Illinois. There's a place called Tombstone Gun Range, and a guy that I used to work with who is retired as a correctional officer, and now he's the chief of police of Johnson City. Him and some fellows started this gun range, Tombstone Gun Range, there in Marion, and they got a guy that took the training and became qualified to give this test for law enforcement in the state of Illinois. And so I went there. They charged me half as much. It took me less than half the time. It's actually a little closer to my house, and I don't have to suffer through this background check. And when I'm all done, they print out the little card and hand it to me right then. I don't have to wait 10 days. So this is just boom, 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 and we're done. And at half price, $50 instead of 100 a year, I thought, well, man, I need to do that. And this is under HR 218 for all of you that are wondering. It's called the Law Enforcement Officer Safety Act, and everybody who's in law enforcement and retired correctional officers for the feds are considered law enforcement under federal law, so we fall under the same legal procedure for getting this permit. So my whole point is this story is I used to go to the state one, and when I went my first year, the one right after I retired about 8 years ago, the guy giving the test, who I think was a state trooper, just took great pains to explain to me that him and his friends thought that we, meaning retired correctional officers, were not law enforcement, should not be there with him, and he would have been very much happy as if he never saw any of us again, especially me, I think, because, I don't know, I just rankled him because I'm not a quiet person and I talk way too much. So apparently that rankled him and his friends. Well, then we started having all these problems with Black Lives Matter and protests, and all cops are racists and trying to kill black people and stuff constantly. And after that kicked off, he decided, this very same guy decided that he would tell me about how glad he was to see me there, and we're all brothers in arms, and that's always just rankled me. So right after that, I said, I just got to do something different than go to this state-sponsored shooting qualification thing, because I just can't stand these people. So that's when I went to the Tombstone Gun Range thing, and I was just curious if this has been the same experience of other correctional officers, that might be listening to this. So if any of you can send me a comment to, and make it verbal if you would, make it an MP3, and send it to my email at militarydragnet@mail.com. I'd like to put a couple of your experiences out in this area, and what maybe you think that I could improve on the podcast would be greatly appreciated too. So that's militarydragnet@mail.com, and let me know what you think. and I'll just make this an addendum or a bonus episode sometime. Thanks for listening.